Hi, today I am cooking from the Modern Cookbook. This is a 1953 vintage cookbook, and it actually has at the front of it a recipe for a week. So I am doing January's recipe for, what day is this? Monday. We are going to have poached eggs on beef hash, baked acorn squash, and head lettuce, only I'm substituting spinach with French dressing that we are making from scratch. And guess what? It is super easy. So the menu also says to serve it with bread and butter and whipped strawberry gelatin, vanilla crisps, and coffee for adults or tea. We are going to forego the desserts tonight just because I haven't had time. But yeah, let's get at it. We're going to make baked acorn squash. So I have thoroughly scrubbed and rinsed off my acorn squash. And now we're going to cut it in half. And we want to scrape out the seeds that are inside with a spoon. So the next step is to brush the tops with melted butter. I don't have a brusher, so I've just taken some paper towel and folded it up, and I'm going to paint it on with the paper towel. I tried to put the butter on cold, and that did not work at all. So you definitely need to melt the butter first. I want a good layer on there because butter makes everything better. Get the inside brushed with butter as well. Okay, I'm going to set this aside because we'll use that butter in a little bit. And now we are just going to take our acorn squash and put them upside down on a baking pan. I have lined my baking pan with tin foil just for easy cleanup after. And now we are going to bake these in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 to 45 minutes until they're soft on the inside. Our main dish tonight is beef hash. We're going to start with 2 medium onions. These are the biggest onions I have, so it's what we're going to use. And we need to slice these up. And then we're going to fry these in 2 tablespoons of bacon fat. I find it's easier to get the skin off if you cut the onion in half, so our slices are going to be sort of like a half slice. Throw these in our waste bucket. You guys probably don't always see, but off to the side I always have a little container for my waste, and then that goes into my compost. Or if I'm using some really nice fresh ingredients, it can also go into stock. I just save the extras in the freezer, and then when I'm ready to make stock, I have all of the stuff to make stock. Okay, let's slice these up. This is a vintage recipe, so there's no instructions on how thin. So that is what we're getting, just random, not very uniform slices. Okay, there's our 2 medium onions all sliced up, and I'm gonna throw them in the frying pan now. Throw my onions in, and then I'm gonna put these on the stove and saute until they are soft. So I currently have 4 potatoes on boiling. They're diced up, and while those are cooking, this is leftover roast beef, and this meal is second day. Like you have roast beef the first day, and then you've got leftovers, and this is what you do with them. It says to dice leftover beef, so I don't know how finely they want it diced. This roast beef was delicious, by the way, so I have high hopes for this meal. We're just gonna hope this is diced fine enough. Can you guys see Nellie? She's got her head right up my, look. Nellie wants some diced roast beef. So when I cooked this roast beef, I just cooked it with salt, pepper, and sprinkled a little garlic powder, goodness, on top. Okay, so that's approximately 2 cups, I'm gonna say, which is what I need. Our onions have done their thing nicely, so I'm just gonna set these aside until I can add the rest of the ingredients. So for the rest of this process, we have our 4 potatoes that I diced up and boiled till soft. And I feel like reading the recipe that this is a little bit big. I think that's a little bit big. So I'm gonna use my masher. So I'm gonna mash these up, not fine, but I just wanna break them up a little bit. I know the recipe says diced, but I also know what I'm hoping for in the end. So if you can see, that's just a really rough mash. And let's get our onions over. This is how it's going to go. Okay, we have our onions that have been frying nicely. The next step is to take our mashed potatoes and put them on top of the onions. just in a layer. Keep in mind, I haven't made this before. I just have a general idea of what I think I'm looking for. And now we add diced roast beef. And now we want salt and pepper to taste. So I'm just gonna take a pinch and sprinkle some on because we can always add more salt later. Same with pepper. But I do find that pepper has a much nicer flavor when it's cooked in stuff. So that is kind of a by the heart ingredient. Now here is the tricky part. It says to add milk. It doesn't say how much. The instructions actually say add potatoes and beef, then add just enough milk to moisten and the seasonings. Mix well. All right, so I guess we mix it well after. I'm gonna call that just enough to moisten, and then I'm gonna mix well. You don't see that in recipes today, do you? Add milk to moisten. If you have a modern day recipe that says add milk to moisten, please let me know. So we are just going to distribute this evenly because I feel like that's always a good idea. Cover it and put it on the stove to fry. Be back when it's done. Okay, while that's frying, let's finish up with our acorn squash. They've been in the oven for 35 minutes. I'm going to turn them over. So now we're going to add butter to the cavities. Approximately a tablespoon is what I'm adding. There we go. And a little to spread around the rim. It's hot, so it'll melt. I'm just rubbing the rim because we want this butter to make the salt and sugar that are the next step stick. Now we're going to sprinkle on salt and brown sugar. So just regular brown sugar. And you're going to sprinkle that around the rim. If some gets in the middle, that's just fine. And now you see why I used the aluminum foil. If I didn't, this pan would be a mess to clean up. These are going to go back in the oven at 400 until the top is golden from the sugar melting and kind of caramelizing. Making your own homemade salad dressing is economical and easy to do. You're just going to need a jar. You don't have to have this fancy thing in here. I put it in to make mixing easier. The hardest part about this particular dressing, which is French dressing that we're making, is juicing an onion. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to do that. We are just going to grate the onion. So I have a little dish, a shallow dish, and I have a quarter of a paper towel on that. And I'm going to grate my onion directly into the paper towel. Okay, I think that's enough grated. We don't need a huge amount. We're just going to bundle this up like so. And then we're going to hold it over our half a teaspoon and just squeeze until we get all the juice we need. And that is the easiest way to get onion juice. So we are just going to dump half a teaspoon of onion juice into our jar, 2/3 of a cup of oil. This is just vegetable oil. 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 4 teaspoons of sugar, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. The recipe calls for 1/16 of black pepper and 1/16 of dry mustard. So I've just taken my 1/8 of a teaspoon and put half and half. And that's it, my friends. We are just going to put the lid on and give it a shake. And there you have it, French salad dressing. So we're going to make our salads. I've just used baby spinach. We're going to shake our salad dressing we made up, our French dressing, which is probably the OG French dressing. And we're going to sprinkle it on top. As you can see, I've kind of got some on mine already, and we're going to sprinkle it on Mark's. We're just going to set that aside until the rest of our meal is done. So I'm pretty sure I've been poaching eggs incorrectly my entire life. So the recipe book tells us to grease the bottom of a shallow pan, add water to a depth of at least 2 inches, and heat to a simmer. Break eggs one at a time into a saucer and slip into the hot water. Reduce the heat to as low as possible, so water does not even simmer. Do not crowd the eggs. Cook very slowly until the white is firm and the yolk filmed over. And then we're going to strain them. So I don't think I've ever cooked my eggs that way. So I've already turned my water down. As you can see, it's got little bits of bubbles in it. We just need 2 eggs for this. I'm just going to very carefully put them in. Oops, and here's egg number 2 going in. All right, we'll just let those kind of do their thing. Actually, I just thought of a trick we can do to raise the water level without having to add more water. So this will probably drop the temperature a tiny bit, but I think that's okay. So I'm just got a cup and I filled it with water so it makes it a little heavier. And hopefully it's not too much. I'm gonna add this in and it's gonna displace the water just enough to cover the tops, I think. Yep, I think that has worked, my friends. I think those are done. So we're gonna use this contraption to get our eggs out. Beautifully poached eggs. All right, let's get this plated up. We have our spinach salad with our homemade French dressing. Our acorn squash is done. There we go. We have our acorn squash. This looks delicious already, friends. Next up is our hash browns. Our hash, not our hash brown. This is our beef hash. And then we're going to add our poached egg on top of that. And there we have our Monday dish. I'm actually going to go serve this to my husband, and I'll be back in a moment, and then we can have a taste test of my plate. So I'm starting with my salad. I thought the record was on, but I've just had one bite. It's really good. There's no reason to buy store-bought dressing. Now, I haven't had French dressing in a while, so I'm not sure how close this flavor is to modern day French dressing, but this flavor is delicious. I think you'll like it. Let's try the acorn squash next. It's soft, but look at this. It's dripping with butter. Maybe don't eat this every day of the week. I'm gonna take a big bite again. Here we go. Oh, it's so good. It is hot. But boy, is that delicious. Oh my goodness. The brown sugar is just a touch of sweet. It's just this really nice little gentle sweet on top of very buttery acorn. We'll make again. Let's break our egg. It should just go everywhere. Oh, look how beautiful that broke. It's soft and gooey, just exactly what a poached egg should be. See how nice and brown the bottom got? That's exactly what you were looking for. So here's my bite. I have some potato, I have some meat, I have some of the delicious looking egg. I never thought of putting a poached egg on hash before, and it is delicious. That creaminess comes through and it just, I mean, there's a reason they have steak and eggs, right? So it's a win. It's delicious. Make it. I actually have no tips. After, when you're done, you'll probably want to put a little more salt and pepper on it, but this is delicious as a meal. Thank you for watching, guys. Please like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends, share, and enjoy your food. Bye.